Isabella Rose sat quietly in her seat as the engineers attempted to fix the stricken Learjet. The lights in the cabin had gone out soon after they had passed over the coast of Turkey. She didn't know what the problem was, but it had caused a moment of panic. The pilot had reported over the PA that the issue wasn't serious, but that they would have to land in Turkey. The panic dissipated to be replaced by consternation and impatience. They had touched down in the early morning as dawn was just breaking over the terminal building. Antalya had been quiet then, with just the occasional smaller plane touching down. But now, it was 5 hours later, and the facility was thronging with activity. Isabella looked out the window. Nothing seemed to be taking off, but a lot of jets were landing, jostling and nudging into position at the terminal building. She had held her tongue for several hours. She had tried to speak before they had left Switzerland, and Salim al-Khawari had told her to be silent. When she had spoken again, he had slapped her across the face. And so she had been quiet after that and concentrated instead on taking in every last scrap of information that she could. Her mother had taught her that it was important to always know as much about your surroundings as possible. It was impossible to predict when your enemies might let down their guard. When that happened, she needed to know as much as she could so she could improve her odds of getting away from them. She replayed the last few hours. The helicopter that had taken them from the Al-Khawari house had headed to the east. She remembered that there was an airport at Sion, and she had not been surprised when she saw it through the window, the illuminated runway cutting through the darkened countryside like a lance. They had landed on a private apron next to a Learjet, and she had been forced to board the aircraft with the rest of the family. They had very quickly taken to the air again. She had looked down at the fast disappearing ground and then at the stars arrayed across the porthole window, and decided that they had headed to the south. The cabin was equipped with LCD screens fore and aft, and one of them was switched on mid-flight to show their progress. She was right. They were travelling to the south. Isabella had watched the tiny icon of the plane as it had then turned east and passed across the vast grey swathe of the continent. Her home in Marrakesh seemed very far away from her now. Pope and Kelleher and Snow, who had been with her in Geneva, seemed very far away too.